Hey, fellas.
Hello, gentlemen.
How's it?
How is it going?
Oh, excellence off that win.
Are we all here? Are we all here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me just get this going. Oh, Sharky's got the beer out. That's good. Yes, gentlemen. Hello and welcome. Everyone, we have got back on a little rugby podcast for today, and I think it's only fitting that we do speak big rugby this weekend as we are into the final, as we'd say, another World Cup in 2 years, another World Cup final within 2 years. So, I mean, the English are calling this a World Cup final, so I'm just going with it. Gats threw it out there that this is a big cup final, so we're going to go with it. And if history goes according to plan, we don't fuck up on World Cup finals.
Yeah, it's also you spot on there, Keegs. I mean, when it comes to World Cup finals, you are pretty spotless. I mean, played 3-1-3. So now you got to add this one to Saturday. I mean, listen, the Boks were unbelievable last weekend. I think, Saturday's gonna be massive. That's gonna be big. I'm sure we'll get into that, but really excited for the build up this week. I think it's gonna be massive, especially with the hopefully both sides being named tomorrow, and then it's gonna be kicked into overdrive from tomorrow.
Sharky, want to jump in? What do you think of? Let's first jump into the fact that the hype after the game. What have we been seeing? What's been coming out of the camps? I know we've had a few interesting characters on Twitter popping up. Some ex-journalists really making their name not look too good. But yeah, the circus around that.
Yeah, like if you're gonna, I've also found that the minute you start engaging and getting involved, it actually becomes quite tiresome. Like you can try and have conversations. I'm more wanting to have conversations around the sort of facts of things and discuss them, and it kind of goes tits up quite quickly. So I haven't learned my lesson after 8 years on social media. Perhaps the problem's me. But yeah, so I actually was on mute. But when you asked how we're much better today than last week. Last week was just finding myself, seeing where we're going, coming with down with the reality of possibly losing, having lost the series already this week. But the Boks came back properly. I think I spoke to Jared early in the week, and I said to him, that. No one has faced or made a Springbok. No one has faced an angry Springbok team in probably since before 2015. Like even under Heineken, man, no one made us angry, and we were up there and sort of there and thereabouts. And then afterwards, we were too shit, so making us angry didn't really matter because we were so worried about ourselves, and we were too busy trying to sort of grasp this new Springbok role that we were trying to create. And then when Rassie came on board, then everything changed. Everyone was happy to see the Springboks kind of be there and thereabouts, and no one was really worried about them because, it didn't really matter. So no one had to make us angry. Now this was the first week, the last 7 days, the first time we've ever been angry, and I love it. It's great. Like the world will fear the Springboks again. They'll be careful like what to say, because we've been nice guys. Like, let's be honest, we have been nice guys. We've been playing good hard rugby, but we haven't been the angry boys of old. And I think it showed this week.
Jared, you want to carry on to that?
Yeah, pretty much echoing what everyone says, but it does feel good to be winning again. I think some of us, especially me, took that first loss a bit hard, and I think Shaun's right in that the Lions really did face a angry Springbok team, and I think a lot of Rassie's video was exactly that. It was him being angry, and it wasn't too much of the actual cause or anything like that the referees got wrong. It was I said it on Twitter that you can see Rassie's hurtful now, and that's the only way to put it. I was impressed by the way we played. I think his video did get a bit of a better performance, or maybe more well-balanced performance from the referees. But yeah, it was great to see an angry Springbok team, a physical team. I see we've been called cavemans this week, but yeah, I don't mind if caveman rugby is winning 3 Rugby World Cups and 2009 and 2021 Lion Series. I'm happy to be a caveman then.
Yeah, let's try keep it on to that point. We brought up the good old Russie video and some interesting debate that caused around the world. And if we stick on the angry point, I think the one thing we as South Africans, and I mean, we okay giving our own players shit. Like, we can do it, we're allowed to, but don't let anyone else come and poke the bear. And I think that this last weekend you could see, I think Lewitt's statement was absolutely brilliant. The few words that he said is that they took it personally and they made it personal on the field. And I think we all got a bit of that. I think that first scuffle that broke up, within 3 minutes of the game, you got Eben down Jones's throat, and you could just, I think I was sitting in a bar in Leiden and with just Saffers, and that whole, soon as that fight or that little handbag broke out, you could just see the intensity in the pub. Just like every South African was like, right, we're in it today. We're ready for it. The pressures of the referee, and obviously this has been contentious everywhere. And I mean, we like to say that Rassie might have, some people going, he stepped over the line, but if we look about Gats, it's quite known to throw a referee out there. He did it. I think he did it in New Zealand in the Lion series. There, try to get under Hansen's skin there with a few comments and that as well. The refereeing was better. I must agree. Like, I think Ben O'Keefe probably looked after the situation much better on the on-field thing, but I still think TMO wise, it was a pretty poor showing with the amount of foolery and shit that we've been seeing coming out in the week. Do you guys think that this is now going to be something that's under real scrutiny after the series? Because I don't see it changing in the series. But do you think the upcoming series that comes, we've got Tri-Nations, we're going to have Six Nations, everything else, do you think we can see a big emphasis on refereeing, but especially maybe the TMO officials being a real wrap around the knuckles? Kooks, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. I think of it, like you look at some of the incidents on Saturday. I mean, you look at the Colby tackle, where I thought he was really lucky to just get a yellow. And then incidents such as the Itoji knee and like things like the Watson tackle in the first game, where you think to yourself, like, with the TMO, I mean the Colby one was down to the ref. But I mean, like, I look at the Watson tackle where the TMO, poor Maurice Jonker, didn't say a word and almost stepped in and said, listen, let's have a look at this tackle again, because I kind of feel like this needs to be looked at. And I think going forward, I mean, I know in the British press, they've given the TMO a bit of scrutiny, for example, like even the try. But I mean, like, situations like the try is down to the ref's wording. If the ref says, give me any sort of evidence not to award the try, and you look at the try again, there was no evidence not to award the try. And it's the same way if the ref had said, can you give me any evidence, to overturn my decision, if he said no try. And I think, I definitely think the TMO decision, it's been lifted. It's been more scrutinized because of Marius Jonker, and I blame Gats for that. As much as the English and the British media likes to go after Rassie about the video, I mean, Gats in the first week basically called Marius Jonker a cheat and saying that just because he's South African, he's not going to be able to be impartial. So, like, I find it a lot worse. He's basically calling this guy, like, saying, listen, he's not good enough to do his job because he's South African, which I find a lot worse. And I think now that's the reason why this TMO has been under so much scrutiny this test series. I do think come rugby championship, it will sort of go back to how it was, because it's going to go back to being impartial referees. So I don't think the TMO it depends on the calls, but I think the spotlight will sort of go back to the referees once you go back to neutral TMOs as well.
Sharky?
Yeah, there's a lot to dive into here. I think I think Rassie set out to rock the boat because he knew that the punishment that he would get would be minor compared to anyone else saying it, whether it was Jacques Ninaba or Sia Khaleesi or anyone. So essentially, whatever happens to Rassie Erasmus because of what he said is irrelevant. He'll just go, like they say, cool, you're not allowed to be on the side of the pit park again.
Yeah, or in the
It wouldn't
stadium.
really matter. Whatever. So I think it was a great shot. I think what he went out to achieve on game day, I think he mostly got it right. Like, because I think that performance, the referee performance, is what we want out of a referee. We won, and I'm so scared that I'm overlooking things because we won. But that looked like a balanced, fair refereeing outing. It didn't look like any captain had won over the referee. Where if ever you playing, if any sport you're playing and you come across a weak referee or a weak umpire, you will work that as much as you can in your favor. So that's the kind of things that happens. And I think he got that. I think the other part of that was how quickly World Rugby respond to his, or anyone for that matter's, requests and feedback. And if you look at Eddie Jones, if you look at John Mitchell, Steve Hansen, if you look at Michael Chaker, they've all called out the referees somewhere along the line for something, or World Rugby for that matter. And the thing is they're obviously not getting what they need, and they're not happy with stuff. So, they are so competitive and so desperately want to win. And that's exactly why we've got them in this position, because they've got rugby IQ, but also because they're happy to cut Brian O'Driscoll in the third test, as a shock call because he believes it right. But they still want everything to be right, and they plan everything meticulously according to how guys manage the game and what sort of feedback they get. So, I think half of the job was done, and to be fair, it needed to be done last week. Something needed to be done, and it was highlighted early, and it became a big thing. But I mean, listening to Sia Khaleesi's post-match interview, let alone the pre-match stuff he said, the post-match interview nearly had me crying. It was raw, it was passionate, and he really, that man is incredible. Listening to him talk, he always has the time of day, from me, no matter what. When he talks, I'm going to listen. But then to say what he had to say was incredible. So the things that were done were real, and Rassie highlighted them, and no one else, there was no kickback on anyone else. There was only words by media and whatever, but there was no kickback on anyone. And I think the job was done. I think I'm sure we're going to dive into it later when we go into the cards and the rulings and the stuff, or we're going to talk about that now because I've been rambling.
We can touch on it. We'll touch on it on the next loop. We can get into it.
Cool, because I have quite a bit to say about that too. So I'm going to let Joe jump in now, and I'm going to have a beer, if that's okay.
No, I think you guys have got it right. I think Michael Checker would have been sent that video from Rassie, and he would have been cheering him on every single word that he said and incident that he highlighted. And he wouldn't be screaming, check the vision. He'll be saying, yes. So yeah, I think there was a lot of coaches like Eddie Jones, like Warren Gatland, they'll all be, Gatland will come out and say, oh no, it's rubbish to do it now, but he would have known very well what Rassie was trying to achieve, and he would have backed up what he was saying. So yeah, I don't think there's too much in it. I don't think we need to say too much more on it. I think the desired effect, the biggest one, was that Sia Khaleesi was respected by the referees, and he definitely got that. Touching on the TMOs and that kind of thing, the one thing I do think has put Marius Jonker at a disadvantage, outside the fact that he's doing it in a South African match, is that the way the TMOs are managed in South Africa, New Zealand and Australia is very different to the way they work in the Northern Hemisphere. If you watch a premiership match, you will hear a TMO say, oh yeah, Wayne, you've missed a knock-on over there. I don't think I've ever heard that from a South African, Australian or Kiwi TMO. So I think that's where some of the problems have arisen, and where they probably need to sort stuff out, is to say, this is where TMO can step in, this is where TMO can't step in, and then you make it clearer across both hemispheres, and there's no extra little bits that one side's doing, the other side's not.
But Jared, I went back on Sunday just to have a good look at this whole TMO law, just the basics about it. And for me, if you read it, it's pretty clear in a way. It says that you can help in any try scoring situation, in any events that lead up to a try. And then it specifically says the next point, any foul play, he does not need to be called in from the on-field referee. If he sees it on his thing, he can make the call in. And say, Ben, listen, at that ruck that just happened now, there was a knee or a shoulder or something, and I need you to have a look at it. So for me, the rules seem to be pretty clear in a way, but do you guys maybe think that it's just we need to get a standard way of using the rules in a way? So should it be like how the Northern Hemisphere is using it? I know the TMO does a lot of talking, obviously, with the referee on the thing. Is that maybe the standard that we need? Or is that just going to be an up in arms? Depends who's in the box and who's on the field and who wants it and who doesn't want that information at times.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much nailed it with the latter. It depends on your personnel. And unfortunately, you see it all the time. Every time something's brought up, and rugby's around laws and not rules. And laws are interpreted and rules are followed, kind of thing. And I think that's where some of it is lost.
Yeah. So let's jump into the contentious calls, the little tackles, and we're going to start off. You guys can jump on whichever ones you want, but we'll look at the Colby one because that's obviously the big one that I feel it was the big one. And I think I've seen a lot of people dissecting that call. And I know we like to say that, he's lucky. When I first looked, I thought he was in trouble. I thought we've seen reds in Tri-Nations games for those. But then you go back to the law, like Jared said, and the way how the player lands, the law says that, it's only a yellow. And so there's no debate that, that's a red or that should be a red. The way it's written in the law, how he falls, saves him from that red immediately. What do you guys say? Kooks, you want to get onto that one?
There's probably, from watching and coaching rugby, this is one of the laws which really annoy me because, you look at I've seen reds given for less. That's the big thing. I've seen reds been given for less, and I know the rule says one of my worst things in rugby is that rule of it depends on how he lands, and I think with that is, for example, I can almost go up. Let's say if I do go up, Colby gets in the air, and it's almost, let's say it's a 60-40% chance for the Lions player catching it, but something happens and he falls on his head, and Colby, do you give him a red card now? Do you say, well, you took him out in the air? But I just thought that with that rule, there's got to be a little more consistency. That's my biggest issue with it. There's got to be more consistency because you see a lot less being given, and I think with Colby the biggest thing is the fact that, and yes, his eyes are on the ball, but he wasn't in a position to compete because not one time did he get in the air, and then you sort of think they're like, man, I think it was Murray beat him to the ball, and you got to also try to be aware of the guy you're contesting. So I think it's one of those ones where I'm very happy he didn't get a red, but it's one of those ones where if a red was given, you sort of go, well, you look at that case, then you look at that and you sort of, well, I can't debate against that. I mean, the same thing with Kwaka Smith in the Super Rugby final a couple of years ago. It's almost similar situation where he done the same thing, and you go, oh, geez, okay, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's.
But then I think we all turned around watching that final, going, "That's fucking ridiculous." How's that red? I mean, I think so. It was I know the law said it was red, but we all looked at it and we like, "Is this where the game's going?" And is this the type it was uproar almost for punishing someone too hard for something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I just think there needs to be greater consistency in that rule. I mean, the same as like the tackle rule, for example. You know, in New Zealand it gets blown one way, in Australia it gets blown a separate way. Obviously, in Northern Hemisphere that gets blown a separate. I just think there has to be some consistency in that playing the guy in the air. Like for example, like if someone like you look at Anthony Watson, we took Pollard in the air. I mean, you basically grabbed him mid jump, and it's like that looks like that like there's like it's slightly mistiming, but like Pollard's still way up in the air. Like surely that's more of a yellow card region but like now you can't give Watson a yellow card if Colby was a lot worse, for example. So that's my issue with the rule. There's just got to be a little bit more consistency in there.
Sharky, you want to jump in?
I'd love to. So the problem with the law, well, when things are so competitive, you need to make like set sort of rules. There have to be set spaces where one thing clicks over to another. So what makes this okay? What makes this a penalty? What makes that a yellow card? And what makes that a red card? So that's the problem where we're at now, is we are hunting such fine lines where you are literally seeing if his toenail or his boot has touched the white blade of grass, which is hanging over onto the green blade of grass side, to make it not a try or whatever. So that's where we are. So, and with that comes all these teething problems. So the only reason why Colby is lucky is not because of the decision. It's because of how Murray landed.
Exactly.
He's lucky that he didn't land differently. So
Yes.
the law states, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't double check this, but my understanding of the law states is if he lands on his head or neck, it's a red card, and if he lands anywhere else, it will be a yellow. So
yeah, that's the law.
That's as far I know. That's how I know the law as well.
He landed hand and then foot and then on his head. But then you got to look at like self-preservation. He put his hand out so he didn't die. So if he didn't put his hand out, he would have landed on his head and Colby would have been sent off, but then maybe he might not ever play.
He dies.
Yeah, then he dies.
So that's the situation. And it's so weird. So by the law, the letter of the law, that decision is correct. And that for me is why Colby was not cited after the game. You look at that and that just screams red card, and I just wish we could create an alternate universe where we could duplicate everything the other way around for someone doing that to our player and then see how everyone reacts. Because
But I think that's where we said
social media is how do you get the balance?
But this is how we looked at it. Like I think, like we're saying, the Kwagga Smith situation is we were so overreacted. We overreacted on a red card there. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be very wrong here, he also falls on his back or on his shoulder in that final. And that was straight red. And we were like, I just remember outrage. Even non-Lion supporters, like, just outrage.
Just quickly, how many years ago?
Well, that's like, when was that final?
Yeah, 2017, yeah.
Yeah, 17.
Okay. That was one of the first red cards given for that.
Yes.
So we got to look at it and go, cool. We can't compare the two together because we have evolved a lot during that. But I get what you're saying. But
I look at it. Have we actually evolved? Because it's still such a shit show of a call.
But if you look at, like, I think we have, because I remember 2017 when the laws, there was a Kwagga one, there was the red, there was a one against Baden Barrett when France played the All Blacks. There was a similar one being called. Like, I mean, there was a stage when World Rugby was really strict on the guys on how they got the contest, where guys were getting sent off and then now it almost went through a stage where I was like, before the Colby one, you think back, like, geez, when else has a yellow card been given for the way they contest? Because like now the way that like Sharky
Jared's gonna be like, hold my beer, Kooks. I've got a few of those for you.
Because one of those ones, cause I just remember watching rugby back then where it's like, yes, Oaks are getting sent off left, right, and center. To the point now you go like, oh geez, before Colby, I was like, now it looks like the guys contesting now looks a whole lot worse than they did in 2017, and those ones aren't getting called. Whereas like the Colby ones, like Sharky said, you the moment you see it, you think red card. The moment you see it in real time, you see the slow motion.
It doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good, and you're like, oh Jesus, he's got to go. But I like what Sharky's point is. We got to decide about like or the TMOs going forward is like you said, if Murray doesn't put his hand out, he puts himself in grave danger because you're only putting your hand out to protect yourself. Like, should there be the TMO going to that? Like Jade said, is there a common sense thing to be like, listen, the only reason why he's landed on his hands there first is because he's trying to save himself from possibly not injuring himself any worse, which is a slippery slope. And it's a slippery slope.
Okay, Jared, I'm sorry to intercept there, my man. So I have an interesting thing, and it's not actually refereed well enough, I believe. But what about the situation? So if a player commits a foul, okay, a transgression within 5 meters of the line, and the ref has stated, cool, it is a foul, it's a penalty. What essentially happens then is that player should not be seen in that move anymore. Would they have scored? It's therefore a penalty try. Should we not look? So they don't unfortunately manage that well enough anymore, or the law has changed. Again, I speak on a correction, but it's how it used to be. So if a player committed a foul or some foul play, he's therefore, so that intentional knockdown, if he wasn't there, would they have scored a try? Yes, they would have. Then that's a penalty try. Possibly looking at that for these kind of things, like if the player didn't put his hand down to save his ass, would he have landed on his head? Yes, but then that takes away the black and white situation that draw that line space, because now you're going up with opinion. And
But isn't that common?
Where the issue lies.
But I actually like where you're going with this now, because there's a little bit of that common sense that we're saying, like that middle line, because that also brings it like another element is, like you boys are saying, he doesn't stick his arm out. He probably puts himself in the grave. He falls on the ground. Now, but Sharky's now also countered himself by saying, if we four referees, we'll probably look at that incident completely different. Who says that we even consider the arm going out and saving his neck? It's that's where it goes a bit haywire, I feel. Jared, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I think that if Cheslin Colby was playing for Toulouse last weekend, he probably would have got a red card. And if we put it that way, like if he was playing a top 14 match, he probably would have been sent off. And I don't think they were keen to make that call of sending him off in a British and Irish Lions test, which is human. They do make these decisions like that. But I do think that he was still lucky. I agree that maybe we should look at these situations where you take the player's arm away. If you didn't stick his arm out, is he dead or is he alive, kind of thing. But yeah, I think the part of the reason they were so hot on these challenges and why we're not seeing it as much anymore is that because everyone was getting nailed for these things and getting red cards, World Rugby put it out as like a touching point for the referees. So yeah, if it looks half dangerous, you send him off and you change the behavior like that. So the same thing with the tackle height that they're doing.
Yeah.
If you tackle too high, everyone's going to start tackling lower. But yeah, I think that Colby was lucky that Murray pretty much stuck his arm out. I said it on Twitter, and a lot of people came after me for it, saying, "Oh no, like how can you think that?" Some people even told me it wasn't even a yellow card. Am I stupid? It's a penalty at most. I was like, no. Don't be ridiculous. Like, I'm a fan of Cheslin Colby as well.
That's someone looking for a reaction. That's like our friend calling Faf de Klerk Faf du Plessis. Tweeting without thinking. The other few issues, if you look at, I thought there were some awful like tackle decisions, and I think we can all sort of agree on that. I think Faf makes I know if you look at he does hit the shoulder, but you look at that situation, Faf's even waiting for his yellow. I think after he makes the tackle, his arms are like this, and he turns around, and it's just like a shock that nothing's going on, and the play's just continuing in the one stage. I know Sharky's pointed out to me that the Mako one he feels is safe, but I'm saying the Mako and Eben in like 3 minutes to go. Do you think I've seen a few videos going around with Lukau and Dicky just grass cutting people across the line. No attempted wrap, nothing. Just really going for ankles. Is that the next point that we can see where we need to? I know at one stage in World Rugby, everything that was like on the shoulder was red, which was pretty ridiculous. But are we going a bit the opposite direction now when it comes to tackling?
I think the Lukau and Dicky situation, I find it ridiculous because, there's a couple of tackles there on Saturday where there's not even an attempt of a rep. So he's basically just taking out Oak's knees. Where for me, that's just as dangerous as tackling a guy high. I mean, obviously, if he gets it wrong, that's someone's ACL torn, and or someone that's 9 months can't play rugby again. So and he's been doing this week in week. That's his big tackle technique. I think I won't be surprised to see the emphasis being on the grass cutter. RB focused on the grass cutter, but then again, you look at the Marco Vunipola situation, where it's in the northern hemisphere, he's probably off the field. And I know, it's those ones that I've seen people get. You look back only a couple of weeks ago in that French game when Ben O'Keefe was also the ref again, where you almost have a similar situation. But I think as referees, I think they're always human because, I've had that when I'm coaching. In a high school game where there's a massive tip tackle where it's ref, that's got to be a red or yellow, and the ref's oh geez, but it's 2 minutes into the game. So it's what's the difference between a high tackle in the first 2 minutes of the game and a high tackle in the 80th minute of the game? So it's that's how I always feel about that. If a guy hits high, you sort of got to give him the card. And unfortunately with rugby, if you did start every single tackle, you probably would find 2 or 3 high shots. That's unfortunately the game we play. But the Marco one, I said it's first minute in the game. I think no one. I dare you to find the TMO in the first minute in this game to be listen, Mr. Ref, I think there's so no, it is a tough one. But I think that the grass cutter is probably the next list. Is probably on our World Rugby's next list to try and chop down on. Excuse the pun.
It's quite funny because I think Bongi actually got pinged for grass cutter in
he did.
He did.
So I reckon Sia's gone and said, listen, you need to check out these grass cutters. We've got Lukau and Dicky checking it the whole time. And then he's gone and picked it up on Bongo Mnambi. We spoke about that earlier in the week, Shaun. That he highlights the issue with the referee from the other team, and then he catches you doing it.
That's probably exactly how half those decisions went down in the first test.
But only Jared, that's when you said halftime. I tell my boys, I'm listen, Oaks, I'm gonna tell this referee just to watch their hands in the rucks. Don't you dare put your hands in the rucks now.
It's exactly the way it works. So I had a chat on Twitter about the Mako tackle, and I'll be very honest in that I don't feel it was a red card because. See again, but by the letter of the law, where's the first contact? Now, the first contact, I'm only seeing the one side, but the first contact is Eben's arm on Mako's chest. That is first contact. By the letter of the law, his first contact, and then Mako's shoulder is to shoulder and then gets him up. It glances off, or it's pretty tight. Or
I don't think it hits him in the head. I think it's high, but it's it
glances up. So
yeah.
Worst case, I'm looking at a yellow card. And there again, that is not exciting. So, do me a favor. With regards to Faf, I spoke to Jared about this from the SAA game till now. That has got to just cool his jets a bit because he's trying hard, and the only reason why he gets away with it is because he's 2 bricks and a ticky high. There is no. Everyone looks at him and goes, "There's no ways that he made a high tackle play on." And I'm sorry, it's a worry for me because he's so flying into them, and that's his job, is to fly into them. But he's starting to get higher because he's timing his role perfectly. So now he wants to make dominant tackles.
He wants to try 2 things, Chalky. He wants to cut the pass out, but he also wants to make the hit. So he's sort of doing 2 roles at once.
And the man is moving. and the man is stepping. Just like Ches and Colby. How Colby didn't get a red card for that head-on-head clash with Curry is something, or a yellow or more is beyond me, because that's massively against the law. Like that, the fact that he stepped into him is irrelevant. Like he's gone in too high. Anyway, so the other thing that we were chatting about was and Kooks, I'm 100% with you. Like you don't want to give a guy a second yellow because it'll mean he's got a red, but he's just been hands in the ruck and you've given 3 team warnings. Like it's got to be a yellow. Like if Mako was a red card at that time, if it doesn't matter what time it should have been a red card. If Colby was a red card, it should have been a red card. Mm-hmm. This whole shit, like I want to ask all those all the British and Irish Lions fans now, all those like the red card spoils game brigade. I'm going to ask them how they're feeling about things right at the moment, because I'm telling you right now, they couldn't give a continental about how much it spoils the game. Because the thing is the law is the law. You've got to stick to it. And I don't care. Red cards don't spoil the game. Players making bad decisions spoil the game. And if Colby knew it, Colby, you can see in his face, he literally sat there. He was like, I've lost the entire series for the Springboks. He was gutted.
And the thing is sprinting off the pitch when he got his yellow.
Man,
before they could change their mind.
Yeah.
It's like if I sit down, the ref can't change the call. If I sit down quickly.
Yeah, you've got to. If you quickly drop kick the conversion, no one can call you back for the 58 knock-ons. Like,
there we go.
Good. But the thing is it's not the red card that spoils the game. Yes, the game as a contest would have changed. But we all know the laws. And we all know that if you do something wrong, you sit on the side. It doesn't matter whether it's sport or real life. Like you've got to face the consequences.
Yeah, should we throw around? We've got a possible yellow or 2 possible yellows. Okay, we have a possible red that's gone missing in a game. We've got a very dodgy looking knee on a player, and I've been watching around and I've been looking at it, and I'll give Itoji, which I don't like giving any credit to, but I'll give him a credit that the first one, I understand that players do find themselves in positions and you can find yourself under someone's knee. You know, that's how the game, it's a physical game, it's in a ruck, these things can happen. But there's clear evidence that he goes up and he plants the knee back down onto the player, knowing the player is there. Okay, so there's another contentious little issue that you've got going around. We've got a few hungry lions apparently on the field. I don't even know what to make of it. I was part of the, Jared, was it your tweet where you said we need to have more video on that? No, I don't know if it was you or if it was one of the other rugby blokes. Someone said we need to see the video that World Rugby's seeing to make a call on that Sinclair's one, because you can, from the TV point of view, you cannot see. It just looks like nothing, like a complete dog show, that call. But the other one that looks a bit weirder, there's not much being said about. So these 3 dodgy calls, where are we going? Who's going first? Jared, you're going to dive into it a little bit.
Yeah, so I saw one of the UK journalists, I think he queried it with World Rugby of why we can't see the footage or whatever. And they're pretty much saying that because of broadcast rights, the public can't get hold of all the angles, which sounds like mad. Like you just want to see what's going on, but you know what's going to happen. The minute that angle that they have is shown to the public, it's just going to be everywhere, and it will be there for the next 12 years until the Lions rock up here again.
But can it be as bad as Hogg's situation? Like, Hogg's situation doesn't look great, if we're honest about it.
I did post the video. You can actually hear when Itoje drops his knee onto the Islander. You can actually hear Mostert and Khaleesi bringing it up with the referee and him saying, oh no, we can't do anything about it now, but we'll have to deal with it after the game with that part on Mostert. So yeah, you can say what you want about that one. I'd like to know what Stuart Hogg was doing to Billy LaRue if he wasn't biting him.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I would like to know. Like it just looks like a bot. Like
It doesn't look good at all.
Billy also has like a reaction like, what the fuck are you doing? It's and everyone's like, oh no, you should react more if you're gonna actually get bitten. But yeah, if he didn't bite you that hard, you're still gonna look at him and what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, but like I just think but like the Sinclair thing is like, oh man. Do you remember when Beast, I think it was Beast who tweeted something a year and he said he can get under Carl Sinclair's skin because he does he gets rattled a little bit, and someone had tweeted it and he came out and said that like no, that's not who I am. And I remember when Gas didn't pick him initially and people said like, listen, he is a bit of a hothead, and then obviously looks like, yeah, but like, and now for him, for example, it comes full circle because like you could possibly miss the last test and get a ban for something as silly as a bite. I mean, that's like, you know, Gat sitting there like, bro, I just give you a second chance, and how you reward me, so you got on biting people. So
he was in tears. He was in tears after a Premiership game, like how he's disappointed in losing out and missing out on the tour. And then, mate, you go, and I'm not saying he's done it, because for me, I'm a guy that show me footage so I can really make my own opinion up. Like for what we're seeing, he looks like he's a guy that's just lying in the ruck. Like it doesn't look like anything.
No, and like Hog's one looks pretty clear. I think Hog should have actually kind of hoped that he got cited. Then at least when if he gets dropped this weekend, he's just got an excuse. Like I didn't get dropped. I got banned because his tour looks over. His tour looks over regardless.
So you say that, hey, but Gats is such a big fan of Hog, and he didn't get to use him on the first two tours, and now he's got him. So is he going to use him for the last test, or is he going to give him the sack? I think he'll feature in the 23, even if he gets dropped from fullback.
Yeah, I think so.
He'll feature on the bench.
Shocky.
Yeah.
How did this whole thing start? Because I'm just busy thinking
about
stuff.
We were saying the three weird. So we had three really dodgy calls. We had we have a 2-bite situation, and we have a knee on someone's throat.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little controversial here. No surprises, but again, I want to look at the margins of things. Did Itoje put his knee on De Allender's throat, or was it his shin? Because I don't think he knees him. He's resting his knee, and then his foot's over his throat.
No, he lifts it up, and then he goes back down again,
and it goes down. Okay, so I also looked at that, and I'm like, listen, he's not exactly throttling the guy. It's uncomfortable, and he can't move. And I mean,
listen, this is a dodgy time to talk about people kneeling on stuff. Don't want to bring. Don't be like that. Don't be that guy that brings this stuff up, which is totally unrelated. It's touchy.
The thing is the thing is like, I will say one thing. What I absolutely loved is Damien gave him a proper send off when he got up. Like he got up and he told him exactly. Be proper. Like
I actually forgot about another incident.
Goodbye. And
the slap.
But the thing is so yeah, that's a bit weird. I will say something about the bites or the bites that I saw on social media was you have millions of angry fans combing through footage, trying to find stuff. And the one and only thing that gets cited was not spotted by any one of them. Yeah. which I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Because I tell you, everyone is hunting. The whole of the British and Irish Lions, like United Kingdom and Ireland, are hunting for something so they can put a video together so they can give Russie the big, like, there you go, there's your send-off. And no one saw that. No, even though you pick it up in the audio in the game, no one even talks about it afterwards. Now we all know it's in the 64th minute. We go back, we're like, oh, here we go, listen. But I mean, there was so much happening in the game. So
exactly,
I just find it hilarious that there are so many talking points, and everyone, like, if you gave everyone a piece of paper and said, right, write down your sightings, the whole world would have written down their sightings, and maybe one would have written down Carl Sinclair bit someone on the 64th minute. And that person would have been the oak who was managing the video.
If someone shouts like that, it could also be anything. It could be a punch. it could be like, ref, did you see that? It could be in that situation. It could be anything. Like, someone's dropped an elbow, or it's a blatant punch or a headbutt. So even if you hear it, you don't know it's a bite at that point in time.
So I'll tell you from experience. Like,
Wait,
hello, sorry. I'll tell you from experience. If someone bites you, they're getting a punch back.
Yeah.
Like the fact. So Willie felt something weird. So maybe Hog had he didn't bite. Maybe he had his teeth. You know what I mean? Maybe the moment was going in his head, and he was like, "I'm gonna have a go here," and then he doesn't. That could realistically happen.
Yes.
And then Willie's like, "Well, hang on a second, you bit me. Oh wait, maybe you didn't." But if you bit
it was
him,
close.
Yeah. There was like the seesaw was about.
Yeah.
And then the Mostert one, so Sos gets bitten. Maybe his hand's in the ruck. He doesn't know what's going on, and he does have a look at it. So that's slightly different. But if someone bites you, so if Hog bit Willie, I'm telling you now, there would have been a something. There would have been a grab or a punch or a something. I don't know how many of you Oaks have been bitten before. I've been like twice, and it's not nice. Yeah. I did get a red card, and it wasn't even me. I didn't even do the biting, but you're not allowed to retaliate. So the thing... It's not, so it's weird. Like, I find it hard. Like, I can understand how Hog wasn't, how he's come out with saying that. So I think it was close to that process. I don't think it was a bite. It looks like it. Does Willie say he was bitten, or does he
This is my problem. No one has gone to like a South African player and like been like, can you give your side of the story? Because maybe Willie goes, there's nothing in it. And then, you know what we all do? We forget about it.
Yeah. The thing is, Willie comes and he says something to the referee, but the commentators, I looked on the South African feed on it, the French feed on it, and the UK one, and the commentators speak through the entire time. Like, I don't get it, okay? The referee speaking, like sometimes we do actually want to hear what the ref has to say, and we don't want to hear what Will Greenwood has to say. Like, sometimes they do need to just sit back so we can hear what the referees were going to say, because the exact same thing with Mostert's part is the only feed that you can hear it on is the South African one, and it's because Shmangi and Pierce have decided to just chill for like a second and you get to hear it. The other feeds, they just speak straight through it.
But does Sos come out to say that he was bitten?
Yeah, you hear Keith say, I understand what Mostert is saying, but I can't do anything about it now. That's what he says.
Can we talk about? I just want to. Well, I don't want to talk about it. I want to Rusty Erasmus this. But how does an official, the ref, say I can't go back to it? It's foul play. You can go back until the first. Yeah. If they said, "Listen, Mako Vunipola put in a high tackle," you can go back then, and it's in the 48th minute. Totally, it's a little bit over exaggerated. But you can. How?
It wasn't like 2 minutes or anything like that. It was like 30 seconds in between the ruck that it happened at. And when I think it's Owen Farrell, he kicks the ball out into South Africa's 22. It's like 30 seconds in between the two instances. So I've got no idea why he says we can't go back and have a look at it. Unless he can't have a look at it because it's the South African players coming in and saying it's that I'm not one of these touch judges or what. I don't understand. I don't know those laws.
And then we forgot about while we on the incidents, and we'll get over it now. We also forgot the slap on the head, the good old on the diff, which should be unacceptable. You shouldn't just be allowed to just slap a guy's bald spot like that. That is disrespectful and should not be happening in the game.
That's just what you call it. That's the last time you'll see Adam and Joe's grabbing people around Rugby. You gotta learn the hard way. I just loved how nonchalant he did it, and then he went back into defending. Like he didn't do anything about it. You see him and then like carry on with the game.
I look at it, I'm like, just say no, you're an official, and you see that happen. You just like, and say a fight breaks out because of that. Like you're forced to make you're forced to unfortunately like get involved now. Like it was funny and I get it and that, but it's little incidents like that actually sparks other nonsense.
But those were two those who are after the ref gave warnings for everyone for niggle, and
Yes.
then gave another warning. So I think it was
Yeah.
the South African that started something. I can't remember who it was, but then he went and gave another warning, like no more niggle. So Itoje's given niggle to Damien. Damien's like given him a couple of people were calling it punches. I wouldn't call it a punch, but just like a gut slap. Then gets him on the ground, and then nothing else comes of it because the players haven't got into it. So
Yeah.
there's going to be that on the field, and the same is with that little nice, like
On
that's
the
that's the most insulting part. Like you slap me or give me one of those. Like rather punch me and I'll lose a tooth. Like and then you can't look at your players after that and give a team talk as a captain after getting a little
paddle on the head. Lads, where do we go from here? I mean, I think we
actually talk about the game and not the incidents. Then.
Yeah, we can talk about the game. I think game wise, I think it's probably what every South African hoped for, was a response, and it was things that we just did a hell of a lot better this game around. I think than what we did in the first game. We were poor in certain aspects. Thought the scrum was pretty poor. I thought our lineouts weren't great, and we got those little things right. We picked up the physicality. Kooks and I spoke on Monday. We said there were 3 things we wanted to see the box really improve on, and that was set pieces, really bring some physicality into it, and I can't remember the third point, but just 2 points out of that already we saw on Saturday, and it was just miles different. Where do you think we won that game on Saturday, Kooks?
I think the Siya Kolisi tackle on Robbie Henshaw, if we win the series on Saturday, is where I think the series turned around. I think the game turned around on Saturday. I think him making that, I think that tackle saved the game, because I mean, the Lions scored there. They go into halftime at about 60. Well, they could go into halftime at 16-6. And it's a different ball game from there. So I thought that's where the game changed. And the Boxers, I thought they upped the intensity in the second half, and they just showed who they really are. I just love the change in tactics, especially in the 22 to go in. I thought the Boks kept the ball more as well in the second half, and then in the territory, I thought they were very good. And obviously the change in tactics in the chip to Mapimpi in the corner, the 2 kicks, kicking by far for Lukhanyo. Yeah, I thought that was a big change. The bomb squad fired last weekend. I thought the bomb squad was phenomenal. I mean,
it's unlikely that they were going to stuff up 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, no, 100%. Loti Yoka was phenomenal. I mean, Trevor Nyakane. I don't think Vincent Koch has had a bad test in the Springbok jersey. I don't think whenever he comes on, he doesn't let the box down. Malcolm Marx was back to his best, and it's just and everything the box need to get right. I thought that I thought it went well. I thought Kwaka Smith was really good when he came back on. I know. He doesn't get praised as I think Jared's the only one that tends to praise him on social media. But I thought Kwaka was really good. I think that's the tackle. I'm telling you if you win on Saturday, you win the series. I think that tackle is the series turner, because I thought the Lions had the better of the first half, and they scored that try. I would think 16-6. It would have been hard to turn that around.
I think Sharky. We've lost Kooks. Hopefully he's back. I think Sharky hit the nail on the head on Sunday, where he had a bit of a thread about where the game we thought we did really well and we won the game. And I think he hit the nail on the head. I think when I saw Kwaka come on and Sos not moving to the side, I was one of those people going, shit, I'm not too sure about this. And it was the stroke of genius. I thought that really, really energized that side. And I think that's where, we really started grasping that second half, or, from that time we went in. Sharky, do you want to carry on that note?
Yeah, listen, it's not a call I would have made.
Definitely not. I would have made it.
Yeah. So, but I love that. So firstly, I love that Ninob has just said to Kwaka, listen, forget about your game. You had a bad game, or not had a bad game. I threw you under the bus in the first test, and what we expected of you versus square peg round hole situation, which maybe wasn't the right thing, but I'm going to totally make it work now. And I trust you, and you're in the squad for a reason. So, and which was interesting. And I thought there were two spaces in the test match on Saturday where the Lions could not prepare for us. Was Trevor Kane at Lucid. I think the last time he played there, I've now found out, was 2017. But even though he started off as a loose head, he went to tight head, but he's a tight head. Like you ask the world, he's a tight head. Now, Carl Sinclair anyone would have totally rated their chances against Trevor Kane on loose head. Like, because he might hold it up, but you're going to get one over him. You're not once expecting him to get two over you. So that was the first space where I think that Gatland and the Lions couldn't prepare for Nyakane. The first place was, firstly, there's no ways that the Lions would have prepared for Pieter-Steph du Toit going off unless it was for injury. And we all know that. And I don't, and the thing is for them to prepare for Pieter-Steph du Toit to go off for injury, they're like, right, Jasper maybe moves to blind side, or Sos moves to blind, and they move Lurtz into lock. Something like that. They maybe bring Kwagga on back at 8, and they manage things a little bit differently because there was no Elstad on the bench. And you weren't going to move Lurtz into blind.
Or even a Sear could move to the back of the pack if you need him to. And, there was options.
Yes, but the option that they were given was one that I don't care how incredibly amazing they are as coaches. And let me rephrase that. They are incredibly amazing. It's not that I don't care. There's no ways I know a bit more than rugby than them. But for them to bring in and train for that scenario would have been number 38,000 on the list. So they might have spoken about it. They wouldn't have prepared for it. And I think that threw them. So those two things were massive. And I believe that they were huge turning points for us, coupled with the fact that we all dominated really, really well everywhere. Like everyone went above and beyond. Everyone was angry and they took it personally. And then we put those two things in. So I thought it was amazing. I thought Khaleesi was a man possessed. I saw someone chatting about Kwagga Smith that they would never have done that, and I still don't think it's the right decision. I find it hard to say it wasn't the right decision when we performed the way we did, even though, Kwagga then changes the game. He makes people focus on different things, and they then have to double up in certain spaces. That's what it does. It's the same as having Chris Harris at 13 or having Elliot Daly at 13, or having having Rico Ioane at 13.
13 on the wing.
Or on the wing. He's not a 13. So there are fractions of a second or fractions of a or half meters that he's out of position. They're minor, but they matter. And and the thing is like, if you look at Harris put in a massive hit on early on in the game. To be fair, it was a little bit front on tackle, but like the thing, those things matter. And I think with Kwagga going there, and it's ironically it's going to contradict slightly, is with Kwagga going there, he operated so well there that he managed other things in the game and managed the people, made them think. And I think that the pack had to second guess many of their set moves and training plans and defensive setups, etc., because we had Kwagga and Sia. And that was weird. And then they still had to manage Visser, who they all know but don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to jump in there quickly. Is that I see a lot of people, and you guys seem to agree with it as well. Is that Mostert on the side of the scrum in replacing Pieter-Steph with Lord coming on was a better call. Like, you would think it's a better call. I tend to disagree. Like, I rate Franco Mostert incredibly well. Like, I think he's a world-class lock. There's no doubt about it. And I don't. Like, you see player ratings and you'll see Franco gets like a 6 or a 5 or something like that. And if you go watch the game a second or third time, that rating always changes by 2 or 3. Like, guaranteed it will change because you miss a lot of what he does. But my thinking behind it is that like, Mostert can play blindside for 20 minutes in a test match. I don't think he can play blindside for 60 minutes in a test match. And I think that was the whole call around it. It wasn't not trusting Franco or not trusting Lewitt. It was, we have Kwagga in the squad. Kwagga wouldn't be in the squad if he wasn't capable of performing at test level. And before, when he filled in at number 8, Jacques said he can play 6, 7, and 8. That's why we have him in the squad. So when you hear stuff like that, you sort of just laugh it off. Jacques is just talking up Kwagga, but he's obviously he's being dead serious about it.
I think
yeah,
where
that's a
you
Buffalo,
where you
eh?
spot on. Yeah,
Keegan,
that's
that's a
fine.
Buffalo, mate.
For cool drink, yeah.
Send it, bro. Bubbles hurt.
So what they say, I think with the Kwagga thing is we also forget that he's no mug on the side of the scrum. Like, he's not just some guy we've found and, molded around. Like, you look at his sevens pedigree and having to deal with chaos at ruck time. I mean, he feeds into that. And Jared highlighted it so nicely on Twitter as well. He's got the ability to keep 2 to 3 people at bay. If he enters rucks at the right point and, he's on the front foot. And those are things that opposition can't always plan for, because especially if you don't face it often enough. And I do think that's why I said I agreed with your point that Sharky, like on Sunday, was I really feel that that's where the game really took a change. Like, it just flipped, because at times we were sending only 2 guys. There was once or twice where there were 2 guys into the ruck. Kwagga is one of them, and the Lions have got about 3-4 guys there, busy. And we've got guys lining up, either pillars or guys lining up for the next pick and go. And it just other people sort of look after or be able to get part of the game, which maybe they couldn't be part of in that first one because we just weren't good enough on the day. If we take this performance, and we obviously know this coaching staff well enough, even though there are a few changes, that things aren't going to change. We're very much a team where we know what we do and we try to do it at 100% every single time. What do we improve on Saturday? What is the main thing that we have to improve to make sure we walk away 2-1 winners? And let's start with Kooks. We'll go Jared, and then Shocky, you will take us home.
I saw a quote that went on Twitter today. Sam Warburton said that you quoted Martin Johnson. He said Springboks, when Plan A fails, they do Plan A again, but better. And I think that's the perfect way that sums up the Springboks. And I think to improve on, I think the Boks would love to see Colby being better on the ball. I thought Colby. I think he's probably the one Springbok who didn't have a good game on Saturday. I think that's the one area they'd look at improving. But Colby's a world-class player. But I think for the Boks, it's just upping the intensity. I think that's going to be the big thing this weekend, because I think the intensity is going to be lifted by another 20%. And and I think they'd want to start better than they did in the first half on Saturday. I thought they let the Lions almost dictate tempo and sort of almost continue how the second half of the first test ended in that first batch. I think they want to start off better. I think that we're still waiting for Kitsy to have that one massive test of how well he is. But I thought it was good on Saturday, but I mean, it wasn't to that level where we know Kitsy to be at. So yeah, I think there's not much for the Springboks to improve on. I just think it's the up in intensity, and I think it'd just be nice to see Colby back to his best. I think he struggled a little bit last week. I think it wasn't his best game, but I think other than that, not too much for me.
Yeah, Kooks, I think you got it pretty much spot on earlier when you spoke about that moment where Khaleesi saved the try on Henshaw, and it was the big momentum swing. I actually just wanted to touch on it earlier, but Franco Mostert stole a liner from the Lions just before that happened. So I think we can look at that particular passage of play almost like that what was it, 30 or 40 phases England put against us during the World Cup final, where it was just door shut kind of thing. And I think that a lot of people talk about the Boks being a momentum side, and I think we definitely have the momentum going into the third test. Like, there's no doubt about that. We dominated the second half, and I think that will help us a lot. So yeah, like a lot of our stuff about talking about Colby and Mapimpi getting the ball a bit more. Our game is still very much based around our defense, and those guys generally only get the ball once our defense has forced an error from the opposition. Now, a lot of the time, what's happening is we're forcing an error from them, and we're getting a penalty, and we're telling Pollard to kick it. And that's exactly what we do. Take the 3 points. And you can understand that in a Lions test. And I think with the Lions, they're a top side, so they're not making too many mistakes where a ball spills loose and you have Peter Steph du Toit picking it up and chucking it out to Ches and Colby to step 5 guys. So I think that's a big difference where we're not getting the ball to Colby. And I think it will eventually happen, but it might not happen in the series. Like, we play Argentina after next week kind of thing. So
Yeah.
we'll probably see our wingers get a bit more ball, play a little bit more open once the pressure of the Lions series is off.
Sorry to jump in there, Shoki. I just want to say, yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I think a lot of people, if you look at the stats from the weekend, I mean, the leading run meters was 22, I think 25 or 22. The player with the most, 26, the player with the most run meters. I think what people tend to forget also. Yeah, what people tend to forget, we're dealing with 2 very good defensive sides. I think the Lions are very good defensively. The Boks are extremely good defensively, and also and no one is giving each other an inch. So it's not going to be a game. It's not going to be a game of, like I said, with Colby. I think it's you got a lot more touches on Saturday, but it's one of those ones where, like, I think sometimes when he gets the ball, you're always expecting magic, and you're always like sort of on the edge of your seat. But I think, yeah,
The
like
thing
you
is,
said,
though, with him, Kooks, you're saying he is the guy that you want. If you create one chance the entire
Yeah.
game, you probably want him on the end of the ball.
yeah. No, 100%. No, 100%. That's how I feel with him. Is like, you sort of want him at the end. He's the one guy you want to have the ball in his hands. I mean, like Mapimpi, you show, like, if Mapimpi gets the ball and the try line's in front of him, there's no one in world rugby that's going to stop him. I 100% that could not touch the ball for 3 games, and he gets the ball like in his 4th game, and there's the try line in front of him. As soon as Pollard got that ball, I was already up celebrating. I'm like, there's no one in world rugby that's stopping Mapimpi 5 meters out in a trial. And I think with Colby the same. I think, but yeah, like, we're dealing with 2 very good defensive sides, and none of them are giving an inch at the moment.
But that's also the other thing is that everyone thinks that we're picking Colby and we're picking Mapimpi because of their attacking attributes.
No.
They just as good. Like, Colby does not look like a good defender. You look at him and you think, oh no, I'm going to run straight flat over this oak. But the thing is that, like, Duan van der Merwe is like a second rower on the wing, but he's not getting the ball because Colby and Lukanya are just shooting up on Daly or Harris and stopping the supply. So that's it exactly. Like,
they're great on scramble D, and it's funny because Shoki and I remember the conversation we had when we started doing the podcast talking about in the World Cup, and we were like, if it's the one player that we struggle, we rate him as a player, but on scramble D he struggled all the time. Was Mbimpi. Hell, he's changed around. He's like one of the main men on scramble D now all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, easy. You and I butted heads a bit on this because you were worried about his defense, and I said he would come right because it was for me it was a matter of time, because there were games every game in the World Cup where you could see that I was understanding things better, and I think we were spoilt with Colby. I think Colby took to this defensive setup and understood it, and his rugby sort of IQ in terms of how Rassie wanted to do the defensive setup. Everything was like a duck to water kind of thing.
While Jock set up.
No, I'm talking about the World Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much Jock set up.
Yeah. So, and then Mapimpi came in because obviously Dianti wasn't available, and the thing is then we were mixing up between Sabu and Corsi, and Sabu
Oi,
Oh, jeez.
oi, on a piece on a gem.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was that point where we had Nkosi and Pimpy, really, it was like the lottery who was going to play on the wing. And I had a bit of, I think it was a lot of the times, I think it was like a really raw and Pimpy, obviously on the wing for the Sharks at the time. And carry on, like Sharky was like saying, like, playing next to more games, you will see there will be an improvement. And here he comes back. Let's go. Can he finish it? Can he finish the chat? Oh, he's hanging.
But jumping on that, like you sort of see the difference when Mapimpi is not out to defend. Like when Kos is in and Mapimpi. I think Kos is a phenomenal player, but you can see the difference between Mapimpi and Kos in the defensively in the system when
Now you can.
When Kos is in and when Mapimpi is in, you can see the slight mistake. Look in the Welsh game in the semi-final that Kos is hitting in and things like that. Slight mistakes. Like, I don't think Mapimpi would have done that. Someone that's used the system, but Shark, you let you finish before you just got kicked out there.
Yeah, no. I'm out on the West Coast, man, and clearly I had to just recharge put a couple of coins in the internet there. So like I think both of our wingers both of our wingers are in that space, but both of them operate differently. I love Drix. Like he can steamroll half of any team. And he's also got the step and the acceleration. So he's incredible. I am acid that we don't have another 5-6 years of Mapimpi. Like I'm gutted, man. Like it'll do well for him to make our next World Cup. Like, because I mean he got into the international scene so late. And the thing is like I just think we're doing, like the way that we set up and everything, we're doing really, really well. So that was on the Mapimpi thing. Keegs, just a reminder, what were we on?
No, we were saying that. Well, what do we want to do? What do we need to do to improve? Well, we want to win the third. So what's the improvements? Where do the improvements come in from here?
So I agree with Jared. Like where the momentum's with us. The bottom line is in the first test, I think we were lacking match fitness, and I couldn't believe the change in the first and second test. So for me, you don't need 2 tests to get match fit. You need more than 2. So are we going to get that exponential growth again? Because I'd love it. Because then we'd win 55-0. Like I'm happy with that. The more points, the merrier. So I think that's huge. I think Gatton's Gatton's last game as coach, and I don't see him doing a massive overhaul. I reckon he names a side that is going to be there. He knows that if he can get the guys to maintain for 60 to 70 minutes, it's going to go down to who's got the better boot. And between Bigger and Farrell, they're a lot better as a group, kicking group, than Pollard and Willemse, or Pollard and Jantjies. Or maybe not Pollard and Jantjies. I think Jantjies is exceptional. I think they might even bring Daly in because he's got the big boot. Because it could go down. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. So I think this could go down to 3 points, 5 points, and Daly might be that guy on 50 odd meters. So I think they need to be competitive. Maybe they name a 6-2 bench, in which case Daly's definitely coming into the mix, I feel. And I think like what we need to do is we need to do same. Like I think we're still growing into our space. We haven't reached our 2019 World Cup final clarity comfort zone yet, and that's where we're going to be doing. So we're going to be working on much of the same. I wouldn't be surprised if we name an identical match day 23. Obviously, injuries aside.
Injury bar, yeah.
So, like, I think it's going to be much of the same intensity. I think the boys are going to be up for it. I don't have a problem with the guys playing massive back-to-back games. I think the Lions are going to be on it as well. I don't think they're going to do a massive overhaul. I think if there's any changes, it's like for like. So I think we'll do well. I think also bearing in mind that the longer that our 9, 10, 12 or 10, 12, 13 are spending together, which is going to be the third game in a row, the more that we are going to get Mapimpi. He's been involved, but the more we're going to get Colby and Willie Leroux in the mix. They haven't had bad games. They've been quiet. They haven't had bad games. So the more we are manufacturing and making and settling our forwards, we will get to bring Willie in. Willie's been good. Willie gets a lot of stick. I saw such a great comment the other day. He's like, was talking about a Lions player, but it's like Marmites. Like you either like him or you don't. So it's the same with Willie. It's the same with Damien. It's the same with Sia. Like they're Marmite players. But the thing is like I think we will see more of Willie when everyone's a little bit more relaxed. I think that's where we are, and that's where our momentum drive will come. Is we'll be able to Willie will be put into that half a meter better space. He will be in a half a meter faster position. The defense will be slightly different. He will pick it up sooner, and that will give Colby. Because Colby had one or two good runs, but the truth is people are all over Colby like a rash. So he still draws in 3 players. The fact now that everyone's understanding a bit better, Colby doesn't have a problem. Colby wants to keep the ball alive. He really does. Like he wants to. He's not a corner flag player. He is that sort of a try scorer, but when it's not on, he will cut inside. Then and Willie and whoever else is first on hand. Clean that out, send it wide, and Mapimps is in to sort it out, or Delendi or whoever. So I think we're in with a good shout. I think we're a hell of a lot better space on Saturday than we were in the last 2 weeks by far.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think
just to jump in here quickly, Ward Rugby just said that Rassie's going to face an independent misconduct hearing this week.
Okay.
Yeah, just for his video. It was bound to happen. I'll just sure everyone wanted to hear that. But just Shaun, just wanted to pick you out on one of your calls. An identical 23 when we've got Dwayne back.
Oy.
Yeah. Dwayne starts. So
and you're crushing Kooks over there by not going full Sir Clive Woodward and bringing Finn Russell and Marcus Smith in the team.
Listen, I think one of them, I think Finn will probably, if Gat wants to change something up, I think he'll probably want to have Finn in, but he'll come in on the bench. But Finn Russell's not going to be on the bench if they're going on a 6-2. Now, they haven't really pushed hard on the 6-2, but I think it's a reality because they lost gas in the forwards. I think Daly comes on in a 6-2, and and Ali Price, and they'll probably start Murray again. I don't know what your thoughts are, but then they'll probably start bigger, have Faz at 12, and then have. But anyway, so that's a whole different discussion.
No, well, they definitely will play.
To answer Jared, Dwayne starts at 8. There's no doubts in my mind, and if he's sort of semi-okay, you don't want him to come off the bench and play 40 minutes and then only be able to play 15. So he starts.
So if Peter Steff is out for me, I'll chuck Dwayne in at 7 and leave Jasper at 8.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
That's my thinking on it. It doesn't disrupt your team too much. You bring in Dwayne can do whatever Dwayne wants to do on the field. Like he can cover whatever we need him to. So it would be more like he's filling in for Peter Steff rather than replacing what Jasper's already doing for the Boks.
And your subs off the bench can stay the same.
Yeah, and then also Jasper gets a little bit of guidance. I think that'll probably be the best learning curve ever. Listen, it wouldn't have been my first choice, but I did say he starts. So I'm okay with him starting at 7. And you're right. I think I've mentioned it a few times, but I think his rugby IQ is far superior. Like, I think the value he adds, and also we can have him on catching on one side of the field and Jasper catching on the other. Plus, we've got our lock split and everything. And I mean,
well, if Rassie's banned, we've got another water boy. You know, he can do the water boy duty. We've seen him do it. So he's a good replacement for that.
So, so if Rassie's banned, so what?
Yeah.
Honestly, like he definitely adds value in a game. He'll have quiet conversations with the players while giving them water. That like he'll just do a little bit of this. Like remind this. But remember, the guys have now spent 4, 5, 6 weeks together. It's been 3 weeks of test matches. I think you know what I mean. I think we're in a good space. But yeah, he's not going to get banned by Saturday already. There's no ways they'll push it through because he'll probably stall them like they stalled him, and he'll just be like, "Sorry, boys."
Yeah. I also just a reminder about the Dwayne thing. Remember, we did play him at 7 when was it Sia out? Or was it just because we had Warren in the team, Warren Whiteley, and we played Warren?
Yeah, I remember
Sia,
that. Yeah,
Warren and Dwayne, and we beat the All Blacks with that team, didn't we?
We did do that.
I forgot about that. I really did.
Yeah,
But
Jared,
what I say is,
you must just rename yourself to the Oracle, mate.
so what I say, what I do think is that if Dwayne isn't fit, and there's no chance we would have brought him into the squad if he can't play any rugby, but if he's not going to play, I think we have a new water boy, so that's perfect. So, like we said, he can play any position in that squad for us. We're pretty blessed when it comes to Dwayne, and I don't think much changes. I agree with you, boys. I think if we're going to see changes, it's going to be slight tweaks, and it probably comes from the Lions more than anything else. If we have injuries, and it does look likely that we do have a few guys with a few niggles, I think it's more forced changes than, planning changes or tactics in a way. But gentlemen, chatting rugby is always a pleasure with you lads. We will dive into, I think we need to do one on Monday, or maybe we must just do a double show next week. And because if we win, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of gloating, and if we lose, it's going to be hell, and we're going to need each other's shoulders to cry on.
No, definitely agreed.
Nice catch up, gents.
Good one. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Till Monday.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, guys.
Pleasure.
Good luck, boys. And both squads announced tomorrow, so
There we
enjoy
go.
the rest of the week.
Follow, give the lads a follow, and jump on the banter.
Gets, if you're watching, let Finn cook.
Cheers, gentlemen.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Right.